Is it possible to beat Minecraft starting in lava? You have nothing in your inventory, there are no blocks here to stand on, and there are no structures to help you beat the game, plus you're starting all of this in the nether. At the very beginning, I just kept falling into the lava and dying over and over again. There was nothing I could do about it. Normally, when I played Minecraft starting on a single dirt block, I kept dying while waiting for a mob to spawn so I could get items and progress that way. But here, there isn't a single block where mobs could spawn. Mobs, which meant I needed to find some better. But before that, I'd like to ask you to boost this video for greater growth and leave a like, for which I'm very grateful. Thanks to the fact that I'm in the nether and there's a chance for striders to spawn here, it will really help me in the future. Well, except there aren't any here. Unfortunately, the chance for them to spawn was very small. But in Minecraft, there's a bug where if you exit and re-enter your world, you're invincible for 2 seconds. It's this very bug that could let me travel an unlimited number of blocks in search of striders. The day of the strider. However, when I left the world and re-entered it, hey, wait, this bug isn't working, what's going on? Unfortunately, because I'm playing on version 1.21.8, which is one of the newer ones, this bug has been fixed, and one of my ideas failed, just like many others you'll see in this video. But for now, I had to put an end to this torture, falling into lava and dying. Finally it spawned. If we kill a strider, it always drops from itself, from 2 to 5 strings. However, even if I did that, they would still burn up in the lava. I couldn't do that. However, in Minecraft, striders have a 1 in 30 chance to spawn with a zombie pigman riding it, holding a fishing rod, and crucially, the strider will already have a saddle. Well, except that it would have to spawn literally right under me, which is even less likely. That's why pulling this off sounds practically impossible, so I decided to enter a new world with a lower render distance, which would make them spawn much closer to me. And the first strider spawned. What happened right away? This idea was brilliant, but they were still too far away, so now it's time to introduce one of the rules of this video. The first rule is the ability to use tick rate, which allows you to slow down or speed up the world, which I hope will help me make this strider appear at least a little bit faster. It's right underneath me. When I set it up, I was practically dying instantly, but on the other hand, striders were spawning next to me in large numbers. Still, the one I needed wasn't there, until finally it happened. It finally spawned. I immediately slowed down the tick rate and exited my world because the second rule that will accompany me during this challenge is the ability to make copies of the world. So I saved my world, and when I entered it, the strider started moving toward me. During each of my flights, I hit it, which reduced its health. I did this many times, and sometimes I didn't succeed, which made it run away from me, so I had to load my world copies and repeat the process monotonously until I finally killed it. However, as you can see, I fell so deep under the lava that I couldn't even pick up the loot from it. On top of that, for a pigman to drop a fishing rod, there's only an 8.5% chance. That makes this stage even harder. I had to find another solution. How am I even going to pick up that fishing rod? Trying to use a bow to avoid taking damage from the lava didn't work. However, when you're in lava and you exit and re-enter your world, Minecraft doesn't slow you down. It pulls you deeper into the lava. So using this bug would allow me to get items from the pigman. Using this tactic was brilliant because I always managed to grab loot from the pigman. Most of the time it was rotten flesh or gold nuggets, and it kept repeating over and over until finally, there it is, I've got it. Now for the third and final rule. I can use the game rule keep inventory so I don't lose items after dying, because this challenge is impossible to complete without that fishing rod. So, for that, what do you say? I'm sorry, because it really is a huge convenience, but believe me, even with this advantage, I'll spend dozens of hours trying to beat this. Minecraft. When I saved the world and entered it, I jumped down from above onto a strider. Alright, and now I just have to jump onto it and... We've got it, officially, I'm on it, and now we can move on to the next stage. But really, why did I even need that strider? First of all, I finally stopped burning in lava and dying. Secondly, now I can finally use it to obtain the very first wool blocks. You see, like I said, when you kill a strider, it can drop between 2 and 5 strings. However, if I kill a regular strider, the string will burn up in the lava, so I have to look for specific striders that spawn stacked on top of each other, and there's only a 10% chance that such ones will appear. When I found and killed the first one, there it is. I have my first 2 strings. Right now, I need to collect 6 or 7 blocks of wool so that in the future I can build my first platform. From bedrock all the way to the top of the lava. When I tried to kill the second strider, unfortunately the string burned up in the lava, but I haven't lost hope. I immediately killed another one and got 3 strings. Later, when I killed a baby strider, it turned out that they don't drop string, only the bigger ones do. I spent the next moment searching for another strider, and when I killed it, there it is, we've got it. Now we have 7 strings, and at the same time I can craft my first block. That's how I made my first wool block, and then I killed another strider, which let me craft 2 more blocks. of wool. Next, I went on a killing spree, kept killing them and kept crafting blocks at the same time. Of wool. But when I had 6 of them, suddenly something hit me. I started getting attacked by a stup, so I ate rotten flesh and had to hurry. Then I killed the second to last strider and crafted the last missing wool block. By the way, on my way back to spawn, I killed another one, but the string burned up in the lava. When I reached the 0 coordinates, I jumped off the strider and killed myself. Then I fell down and placed 3 blocks of wool. Placing those blocks was risky because Matyusz, my strider, started to wander off, but I reeled him back in with the fishing rod and placed 2 more blocks of wool. Unfortunately, working with him was quite difficult and I had an even worse situation with placing the wool because I was falling too deep into the lava. I figured out that I could place a block of wool from him, but I wasted it. After a few more of my deaths, I finally managed to do it. There it is, we've got it officially, we've got the first block and now I need more of them. My current plan was to lead those striders onto that block and then kill them to more easily obtain string and then craft wool from it. However, that one block wasn't enough for me, so I set off again on an adventure to get more string. It took me a while, but I finished with 5 blocks of wool. Next, I returned to spawn and expanded my platform so that it's easier to get string from regular striders. Though, carelessly, the Trajdar walked away. He's running even farther away. During my deaths, I tried to get him close with a fishing rod, and it finally worked. There he is, he's coming, he's getting closer, good, come on, not that way, come on, man. I died about 10 times until I finally left the world and saved a copy of it, and then I increased the tick rate so that eventually, after a few tries, he started moving toward me. This fight took me about an hour, but I finally made it. There you go, this stupid situation could have led to me never finishing this world, so in the future I need to be more careful. Next, I moved on to luring those striders, and so I killed the first one, from which I got 2 strings. Then I went to get even more of them and returned to base with my crew, some of whom I killed. When I finally got a few more blocks of wool, I decided to slightly expand my platform. Later I used this base to... After killing the striders, I expanded the platform even further. When I got even more blocks, I finally upgraded my base for killing striders. The official stage of the strider farm to obtain an infinite amount of wool can be considered complete. However, now I will have to move on to building a pigman farm. By killing pigmen, we can get gold nuggets, a golden sword, or rotten flesh. But most importantly, they have a 2.5% chance to drop gold, which will completely change this challenge. That's why when I was returning to my base, I saw another piglet. Oh, that is really mega nice. I decided to kill him and then trap him in a small mini cage and so that I would have a bit of a lifeline. Here I will die and my strider will leave just like before. Next I gathered a few blocks of wool needed for the farm and reduced the size of my second strider's pen to save wool. The next stage was super boring because I had to kill a ton of striders until I finally had over 300 of those wool blocks, which I will now use for the pigman farm. Next I built a simple bridge. I made a small platform and crafted carpets topped with wool blocks. However, as I started building stairs upwards, I fell into the lava and after a moment... No way, a ghast spawned. I didn't expect that, but a ghast spawned, which could have destroyed my entire base. However, luckily it flew far enough away that it didn't see me, and I decided to put carpets everywhere so it would never appear again. That's how it went. Later I hit 2 newly spawned pigmen, one of whom fell into the lava and the other one, after a while, I managed to kill. I ate rotten flesh and then went to throw a piglin into lava. Matyusz fled, so I trapped him in my trader farm. Meanwhile, I added the last carpets and built a tall structure upwards, part of the piglin farm. Once I had built the pillar upwards, all that was left was to build a simple bridge and on it, a larger platform where pigmen would spawn. However, to prevent ghasts from spawning on it, I had to build a few blocks above the platform, which would eliminate ghast spawns. It's that simple. That's how the finished farm looked, and I went down to get 1 block, and when I came back up... Oh, what's this? An enderman spawned here, and piglins spawned as well. I hit one of the pigmen and positioned myself in the designated spot, but it kept falling down into the lava. It turned out that I would need a few more blocks. So I went to get striders, and back at my base, how many of them had spawned? I'll take over their platform so they don't fall into the lava. It worked perfectly since they'd fall to the bottom. Then I died finishing them off and managed to get my first gold. There it is, we have our first gold, but why am I even doing this? You see, once I get to the normal world, the challenge will be much easier. But I still need to build a portal to the nether, for which I need obsidian. Don't change... With a Piglin, there's an 8.71% chance that I'll get obsidian from a trade, which means I'll need to collect about 115 gold to get enough obsidian to make a portal to the nether. When I went up and hit a pigman, I saw another guy with a fishing rod. And then I expanded their bridge even more, and in the process I died and upgraded it even further, the bridge. Next I killed the guy with the fishing rod. Hey, he dropped probably the fishing rod if I saw it right, what the heck. Then I killed the pigmen, brought in some more and killed them too, and when I got back up... And by the way, we can finally use our gold and exchange it, hopefully. For obsidian, please? Come on, trade it, and unfortunately just a fire charge, so that doesn't help us at all. Exactly, this fight is going to be incredibly tough, but I didn't give up at all, because I brought in even more pigmen, killed them, then went to trade my second gold. And when I died and came back, I saw this. No, it gave me obsidian, but it was only crying obsidian. Now the real fight began because I brought the pigmen down and then killed them. And so, over and over again, over and over again, over and over again. And it just kept going like that. I traded my next 4 gold, but I still didn't get the missing obsidian. So once again, I killed them and then traded the gold, but when I still didn't get obsidian, I expanded the farm. Even more, and then I killed pigmen again so I could trade gold later until finally... There it is, we have the first block of obsidian. Yes, I got the first obsidian and then I traded the rest of my gold, but I didn't get another obsidian. Later, I upgraded the platform again and killed a ton of pigmen so I could go and trade my 36 pieces of gold. Thanks to that, I got a second obsidian and then a bunch more trades. And by the way... Oh, I got a gas tear. I didn't even know you could get that. What is this? I'll be able to hatch it later. Then, after a bunch more trades but without any obsidian, I went to farm a ton of gold again, which I took to the piglin, and that's how I got my third obsidian. After that, I got rid of those pigmen because they were getting in my way and I managed to get 3 more gold from them. 3 gold I just dropped now. Alright, this is officially my record. Then I went to the pigmen and traded with them, and that's how I got a bunch of new items, including the 4th, 5th, and 6th obsidian. And then this happened. Another prob. There's the 7th. Maybe I won't have to collect so much gold after all. 8th obsidian. No way, I'm so lucky right now. Well, I finally got some luck, because I remembered that earlier I traded about 50 gold for just 1 obsidian, and now things have finally improved. I only needed 2 more obsidian, but at one point a ghast spawned, which made things a bit harder for me. However, when I died, it disappeared and I fixed the damage it caused. Later, I farmed gold from pigmen again and then went to trade it for obsidian, but I kept having terrible luck, and during the last 3 gold trades, this happened. There it is. A small obsidian, the last obsidian. Please let these 3 gold work, please, please. Come on, pearls, I don't need pearls. Come on, please. Yes, we got it, the second to last gold. And that's how I got the 10th obsidian, which means I can get out of here. I immediately jumped down and went to construct a nether portal right next to my bridge. Ignited the frame and jumped into it. What? No, 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 no. No, like... Exactly. It's not just the nether covered in lava. The overworld is too, and soon the end will be. I need blaze rods, but there are no spawners. I need tools, but there's no crafting, and I must find a stronghold despite no structures existing here. But don't worry, that torment is for later. Initially, I just built a simple bridge and stairs leading to a final platform. I did this because in Minecraft, mobs can spawn 24 blocks away from the player, and I wanted to get an iron shovel from a zombie. I decided to build stairs going up and expand my platform. And after a while, a zombie spawned, which I quickly defeated. After waiting quite a long time, I decided to build a bridge in the other direction so I could run there and despawn the mobs that spawn on the platform. This worked much faster. Again, I waited like that until it started to snow, and then I blew up a creeper and got snowballs, which I crafted into snow blocks. Those are exactly what I need right now because my next goal is snow foxes. They can only spawn on dirt or on snow, and there is a 1% chance that they will be holding an emerald. In their mouth an emerald, and I needed 6 emeralds I got from the wandering trader, but now all that was left was to wait until one finally spawned. Yes, there's a zombie, okay, okay. All that was left was to hit it and make a copy of the world, and finally I got the shovel. We got it. Next, I collected snow from my platform until my shovel broke, and then I used it to build another platform. Later another zombie spawned, which I again defeated, gathered as much snow as I could, and upgraded my platform. Then again, a zombie, collecting snow and upgrading my platform. The next stage was the same, killing zombies, farming snow, and upgrading my platform until it was finally ready. And at last we have a bigger platform. Later I positioned myself on the platform and waited for snow foxes, and even wolves spawned. But I fell into lava and then had to somehow get out of the nether. In the end, it all turned out well because I tamed my 2 dogs. There it is, the last church. That's what I'll call it. I named my dogs Maciek and Stefan and led them to the other island, and once again, all I could do was wait for the snow foxes. The foxes spawned, but I only had an egg and some wheat, so I went back to my island. This waiting stage was boring, but I still managed to get my first emerald. I finally got my first shiny emerald. Altogether, I needed 6 emeralds, because for 1 emerald you can get 2 rooted dirt blocks or 2 moss blocks, and for 5 emeralds, a tree sapling. So finally, I managed to get my 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, and even 7th emerald. I had plenty of them by then, so I broke the snow layers and just waited for the wandering trader. However, he didn't spawn for a long time, and in the meantime, I expanded my platform even more. After another long wait, he finally spawned. There he is. He spawned. He had a dirt root in his trades, which of course I took into my inventory. All I was missing was a regular tree sapling, but when the second wandering trader spawned... That's right, you guessed it, he didn't have it, but after my long wait, I finally got it. Of course, I placed the dirt and the sapling, waited in place for it to grow, and then took the first log. And officially, I have it. I can now craft a crafting table. And only now, during this challenge, do we finally have a crafting table. Next, I destroyed the entire tree and crafted a chest which I placed on the portal. I also planted my next sapling and put away unnecessary items in the chest. Later, when I went to the crafting table, I even got my first apple. Later, I took the crafting table and had to go back to the nether again because right now I really need iron. I'm going to need it. A total of 10 iron ingots will be needed to craft a bucket and a cauldron so I can get an infinite amount of water this way. Honestly, this stage was super boring because I had to kill pigmen at my farm, then trade gold for various items, and among them I got iron nuggets. Then I repeated the process again and got more and more and more iron nuggets. I could go back to the normal world, and there I crafted the missing pieces of my armor from leather. And then a bucket and a cauldron. I went back to my long bridge to extend it, hoping for a regular biome for some rain. A cauldron. However, after a while I remembered that I also got water bottles from trading with piglins, which I could use for this. I came back, a bunch of mobs spawned, and I crafted a bed and went to sleep. On top of that, a wandering trader spawned and I decided to buy sand from him. I left the cauldron and poured water into it, and thanks to that I got my first water. Next, I went back to my island, set up a spot for water and poured it out there. Yes, later I went back for a second water, and thanks to that I got an infinite water source. Next, I waited for my tree to grow and harvested it, then poured out the water, and thanks to that a small one formed below, a platform made of obsidian. But best of all, I took lava into a bucket and poured water on it, and thanks to that I got my first stone. I crafted a wooden pickaxe and mined all the cobblestone, then crafted stone tools. Next, I decided to collect 2 blocks of coarse dirt and move them, then used a hoe. Thanks to that I got regular dirt, and best of all, by combining regular dirt with gravel, we can multiply it into coarse dirt. This way I gained the ability to create an unlimited amount of dirt. Later I planted 2 saplings and kept multiplying my dirt until I finally got it along with the trade. I decided to spread the dirt evenly and planted 2 saplings. Next I made a new chest which I placed in my base, and I crafted a furnace. Afterwards I put away the items I didn't need. Then my trees grew, so I decided to harvest them and use the wood to make charcoal. While I was at it, I added trapdoors so that mobs would fall into them if any spawned. Later, when I returned to my tree farm, we got an apple, and yo, mega, that was quick, we already have 2 apples, so we basically have everything. Exactly, I wanted 2 apples because my next goal was to get a villager. Next, I gathered wood and crafted shields, then made torches, which I placed wherever I could so that no mobs would spawn here. At this point I wanted to get villagers, so I went to the crafting table to make 3 boats, and then I made 2 more. Refile. Next I went down and poured water to expand my platform so that more mobs would spawn here. When the platform was ready, I added stairs going up to make it easier to walk around here. However, during the night nothing was spawning, so I expanded my platform even more, and at the top, when I increased the tick rate, the first mob started to spawn. Then I went to kill them and waited again until finally, and there's 1 zombie villager and there's a second zombie villager. I don't see a witch for now, but we need to trap these 2 zombie villagers. I didn't see a witch yet, but I went down, where I died a few times because there were a ton of mobs here and I had weak gear, but when I finally cleared the area, then I led my zombie villagers to a boat, then built them a shelter and waited upstairs until 2 witches spawned. Then I led one of the witches to the boat and took out the rest of the mobs. After that, I sailed off with the witch and I got lucky. There was weakness, so I used a golden apple on one villager, then on the other, and killed the witch. While the villagers were transforming, I gathered some wood, and then downstairs I used lava and water to mine even more cobblestone. Next upstairs I crafted more torches and placed them all over downstairs, and then And now we officially have our 2 villagers. When the villagers were ready, I went upstairs to get 2 flints from gravel, which I used to make a fletching table. Then I went downstairs with it and placed it, and then I traded my sticks for 2 emeralds. Later I fortified them even more and had to wait until nightfall, because I didn't have 5 iron to craft a blast furnace, which I needed to get a full diamond set so I could more easily defeat the blazes and then the dragon. I immediately traded my gold, but I didn't get any iron, so later I killed a bunch of piglins and then traded gold for iron, and it went super fast. Alright, we've got it nice and easy, we've got enough iron. Next I crafted the iron and put away the unnecessary items, and I also crafted a regular furnace. After that I smelted some cobblestone, then gathered some wood, smelted stone, crafted 2 axes and took the smooth stone, which I used to make a blast furnace. Later, I went down to the villagers and built them a mini base and improved the design. Next, I traded sticks for emeralds and used those emeralds to get iron armor. However, I wanted to get diamond armor, so I had to chop wood and trade sticks for emeralds and then for iron armor. Along the way, I came up with the idea to smelt the armor down into iron scraps, and I kept repeating this process over and over. The stage of gathering wood for sticks, then emeralds, and then armor. I kept repeating this stage the whole time until I started buying a ton. Shields, then again wood, and then emeralds for shields until diamond pieces for 1 emerald each. So I immediately buy them, and look at this. I officially have diamond pieces now. However, I was missing the chestplate and the helmet, so I had to gather a bit more, and finally I unlocked them. I bought the helmet, then gathered a bit more wood to buy the chestplate, and that's how I got the full diamond set. Then I smelted a few more pieces of armor, so I could use the iron to make an iron axe. While I was at it, I placed 1 dread gust in the water so it would grow, and I took the necessary items to make armor for it. I also smelted the sand I had collected earlier into glass, and that's how I made its armor. At this point I wanted to go after blazes, but there aren't any structures here. However, there's a mechanic in Minecraft where if you go to a place where a fortress used to be, blazes and wither skeletons will still spawn there. Since those were my targets now, I had to gather some blocks, chop down some trees, and suddenly a ghast spawned. I didn't really know how it worked, but I tied it to a fence with leads. Just look at how funny it looks just being there. So cute. What's going on? It was super adorable, but I had to head back to the nether where I had left my world. And I checked where the fortress was so I could return there later and build a bridge upwards in that direction and then along it. And when I reached that spot, I built a larger platform where there should have been blazes. But first a ghast spawned, which I killed, and then 2 blazes, which I also killed. Then there were wither skeletons, blazes, and we got our first blazer rod. Again, wither skeletons, blazes, and then I built a special room for them, and I kept collecting and collecting and until finally I managed to get a total of 7 blaze rods. Next, I returned to the base where I took some books and then crafted a grindstone and put my 2 books in it. But really, why am I even doing this? You see, this lava world is actually a swapped andesite, just like I used for the blaze. However, in Minecraft, there is a trick. If you add a ton of books with thousands of different random symbols and put them all into a chest, the game will lag so much that it will restore an old chunk. And I'll use this to generate a chunk with a portal to the end. But for that, I'll need 324 books and quills, for which I need feathers, ink sacs, and books. So for now I wanted to focus on the books, which meant I had to go back to the nether again to get them from trading. So I repeated killing pigmen to craft gold and trade it with piglins. It took me a ton of time just to get a single book. You could even hear it in my voice that I was already tired of it, so I gave up on the idea of collecting those books here and went back to the normal world. I turned the book into a regular. And I decided to craft a bookshelf and then a lectern. It was the lectern that could make this challenge easier, but I had to get a villager again, so I went to chop some wood. And when a zombie villager and a witch spawned, I put the zombie in a boat and led him away. I brought the witch to the villager and put her in the boat too. Later, the witch threw a bunch of potions, but I used a golden apple on the villager and put him in his new room. Then I traded sticks for emeralds and our ghast grew. And now can I give this to him? I can actually sit on him. Wait, what is this? This is my first time doing this in Minecraft, and then for the first time I'm flying. It was pretty cool, and our villager was cured, plus I upgraded his room. Next, I looked for a bookshelf from him. A bookshelf. 3 emeralds. 3 emeralds for that? Well, it was pretty expensive, but thanks to that I got my first 9 books, 324. So I decided to expand my island with crops to speed things up, and now I kept repeating and repeating and repeating and repeating and repeating and repeating and repeating this process. Monotonously, waiting Zizdris. I came across a wandering trader from whom I exchanged a few bottles of water for emeralds. Then I finished this process, And finally, I obtained all 324 books. So now we've officially completed the book stage and we can move on to the knapsack. Exactly, now I wanted to get Atraman, so I went upstairs and made a chest where I put away my books and emeralds. Before setting out for Squiddy, I went to chop some wood, make torches, stone swords, and I was ready to set off. I had to build a bridge using water to reach this place by the river, which used to appear in the previous world. However, I was at Y64 and Squiddies can spawn from Y50 to Y63, so I stopped in place. Innocently, you don't want to know how long I spent mining that obsidian, but at least now I could go back for the dirt I had placed, poured water over it, dug up the dirt and killed those mobs. That's how I prepared the place for squid respawns, and when I increased the tick rate, a ton of squids and noise started spawning. It works. I immediately jumped down and using my sword I was able to farm a ton of ink, and let me remind you, I needed as many as 324. I decided to go back to the base for a bit, and while I was at it, I threw some fish in to cook and crafted ladders to make it easier to climb up there. However, as I was killing them, I noticed this. They're all different sizes. What a huge fish. What's going on? Then such a tiny baby squid, what's up with that? Then does it drop itself too or not? No, it doesn't drop. That's a shame. After that, all I had left to do was farm and farm and farm until finally... And we've got it. We have exactly 5 stacks and 4 so we can get out of here. So I took everything with me, just went to the chest to put away the collected knickknacks. At that point, all I was missing were feathers, which I can only get in one way. Do you remember when I was in the nether? That's exactly where I often saw a chicken with a little pigman on it. So I had to go to the nether to get 2 chickens and then make a farm, and there's only a 0.25% chance of getting a chicken. When I went up, I didn't see any chickens, so I sped up the tick rate and went up again. I did this monotonously over and over until finally a buddy spawned. There it is, we've got our first chicken. The chicken spawned, but I had to somehow transport it down to the portal. I decided to build a bridge, but I ran out of blocks. So I threw a pearl, drank a fire resistance potion and went to the chests, but I didn't have any blocks in them. I decided to mine some cobblestone, then make 2 axes and chop down a few trees to get the wood I needed for the bridge, which I turned into slabs. After the line, I worked on the bridge and prepared a spot below for the boat to land, because I killed a few mobs there, including a pigman in a boat. And I was sailing with the pigman in the boat, but he attacked me. So I went back to the nether again, and so I slowly transported him, and even a ghast spawned, so I went to hunt. But just as I came back, it flew away. Eventually, I managed to float down with the chicken and then through the portal. Next, I broke a few blocks and killed the pigman. And we've got it. We officially have the first chicken. Soon we'll go get the second one, but for now, buddy, I'm just going to enclose you here. Next, I built a large cage and went back to the nether. However, I was really unlucky this time because I spent an hour trying to get the second chicken, but it finally spawned and I even died in the process. And later, when I came back, I don't even know why, but the chicken was without its rider. But that didn't bother me, so I could break the half-block wall I had made earlier and then continued on my way. With my chicken, I headed to the portal. I did the same as before and led him into the cage. Later, I removed the breakfast. I killed the mobs that had spawned here, added gates, then released the chickens and gave them more light. To breed chickens, I needed seeds. But much earlier, during the villager event, I managed to trade with the wandering trader. 4 moss blocks. That's exactly what I went to the chest for. Then I turned bones into bone meal and headed downstairs. I placed a total of 4 moss blocks and used bone meal on them. And now we have a baby chicken. However, I needed a lot more seeds and I didn't have enough bone meal, so I went back to the chests for dirt, which I spread out and made, yes, my first farm. I wasn't interested in wheat, but specifically in the seeds. At that point, it was tedious work. Harvesting wheat, breeding chickens, and repeating this over and over again. I even started expanding my farm using the gravel tactic, then tilling that dirt with a hoe. And I even used a bunch of eggs from the chickens to speed things up a bit, and in the process, even the first one. The chickens escaped from me, so I killed them and got my first feather. Another wandering trader even spawned, but he didn't have anything interesting. I bred a few more, killed them, and when there were a lot of them, I decided to slaughter them to see if I could get 324 feathers. But I still had a long way to go, so you know the process again. Farming wheat, I killed the wandering trader, and then when there were a lot of them, I killed them again, and this time I really got a lot. A ton, but I was still missing more than a stack, so I bred more and then killed them later. And that's how I got enough feathers. I went to put them in the chest and another container, and I even noticed that my gear was wearing out, so I took 2 diamond pieces and ran over to the villager to trade emeralds for a helmet, and the chest plate price went up to as much as 13 emeralds. Later I did some mining, and I also traded what I mined for emeralds. Next I killed some chickens, and that's how I got the missing emeralds. And I bought a diamond chest plate. I had a full set ready for the dragon, but I needed some blocks. so I went to chop wood to get materials for building a bridge. And I traded the wood for slabs. I wanted other items but didn't have enough space in my inventory, so I built a really long bridge. Once on the correct chunk, I poured water there, and that's how it happened. And now we have the whole thing done! I added a crafting table and 12 chests and placed them next to each other in a row. Then I had to go back to the base using my bridge. I took the necessary items like ender eyes, a photo, shulker boxes, and all the other things needed to make books with quills. Later again. I went back across my bridge and made a chest where I put away a few items. Then I started crafting books with quills and put them in the chest except for one. And we need to fill out this entire first book with the correct code. I copied the code that I added to the first page, but when I tried to paste it on the second page, it didn't work. I can't paste this. Later it pasted, but again I couldn't add it. Here's the code to paste on 100 pages. Why isn't this not working? Okay, I'll just paste it to the first page. I'll try to paste it 100 times. I just tried pasting only the first part of the code from the 100 pages, which happened to work because for some reason all the others didn't work. I was really hoping this would work. We have 100 pages of this book. Each page was pasted, and I just had to name this book, calling it Horses. Now I just need to copy them. All I had to do was fill each chest with books, and I kept doing this until I finally filled the last chest. At some point, Minecraft started lagging really badly for me and I didn't know what was going on. Actually, I'm joking because it didn't work. I assumed it was because of a bug with the book, but unfortunately I wasn't able to reach the end or kill the dragon, for which I apologize.